Here we go, blasting into another brand new hour, another brand new week of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you on board for the conversation. Remember, this show often results in extended periods of American pride, optimism, and uncontrollable enthusiasm for America's future. Yeah, kicking off the live broadcast and Real America's Voice and MTN networks and reaching a growing global audience. This is the Steve Gruber Show. It's a no panic zone. Glad you're here. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the heat is on for much of the eastern half of the country, and New York City could set a record for June tomorrow if it reaches the forecast 102 degrees. It would break the record of 101. Number two, across the country, home prices continue to rise. That's now pushed those prices to all-time record highs. I guess it's good if you're selling, not too good if you're buying. And number three, here we are. I opened Friday's show with this question as a hypothetical. Do you support the United States joining the war against Iran? And if so, how far does that support go? Does it include bombing runs, guided missile strikes, yes or no? Well, as you certainly know by now, that is no longer a hypothetical question. It's a matter of fact. President Donald Trump unleashed the fury and the might of the United States military on Iran's nuclear ambitions, and it was something right out of Top Gun 2, it seems. You see, our boys in uniform with those B-2 stealth bombers and Navy submarines dropped a dozen bunker buster bombs on the reinforced Fordo site, buried 300 feet under a mountain, and fired 30 Tomahawk cruise missiles at Natanz and Isfahan. Here's United States Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, describing the mission.
Last night, on the President's orders, U.S. Central Command, under the command of General Eric Kurilla, executed Operation Midnight Hammer, a deliberate and precise strike against 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. This was a complex and high-risk mission carried out with exceptional skill and discipline by our joint force. I want to thank every service member, planner, operator that made this mission possible. Their actions reflect the highest standards of the United States Armed Forces. This operation was designed to severely degrade Iran's nuclear weapons infrastructure. It was planned and executed across multiple domains and theaters with coordination that reflects our ability to project power globally with speed and precision at the time and place of our nation's choosing. This was a highly classified mission with very few people in Washington knowing the timing or nature of this plan.
Yeah, the stunning mission really underscored in the eyes of Iran and the world just how advanced our military can be when needed. In fact, Iran didn't even have time to blink in response. They had time to do nothing. Listen to this.
We are unaware of any shots fired at the package on the way out. Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise. In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the President stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon. I know that battle damage is of great interest. Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
It's incredible strength on a global scale. We can only hope it'll be the path to peace through strength. Kane delivered this message straight to the camera for anyone listening with the idea of doing us harm going forward. Pay attention.
Our forces remain on high alert and are fully postured to respond to any Iranian retaliation or proxy attacks, which would be an incredibly poor choice. We will defend ourselves.
Now, President Trump, our bold commander-in-chief, was the first to break the news, confirming the strikes on Truth Social. Saying Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities are now completely and totally obliterated. For years, Iran's been thumbing its nose at us, enriching uranium to near weapons-grade levels, and now they've paid the price. The IAEA's been whining about Iran's lack of cooperation for ages. And Trump just sent a message. You don't mess with the United States. Death to America? Yeah, I don't think so. He delivered an address to the nation 10 o'clock Saturday night. You probably knew that. Something that would have been, by the way past Joe Biden's bedtime. And Trump reminded the world of this. Listen.
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue.
Yeah. The president called for peace in a similar tone like that of General Kane. Here's that.
With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago.
He's exactly right, by the way. Exactly right. I can't overstate, I really can't, just how impressive this mission was. 37 hours those B-2s flew from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri. 150 aircraft in all, refueling stops in midair. All of that. The kind of chilling message it sends to terrorists around the world who have come to the conclusion that the U.S. is all bark and no bite. Well, hello. Top of the morning to you. And before you jump to the conclusion that Trump is just beating the war drums, I think Vice President J.D. Vance made an important point here. The U.S. showed remarkable restraint in this mission. We'll get to that in a moment, actually. I'm going to tell you this. 37 hours, 7 B-2s, 150 aircraft. The kind of coordination that took for the U.S. military to pull that off is absolutely incredible. You know, they pulled a decoy mission. They sent a squadron west. Then they slid these out to the east. 18 hours in each direction. Can you imagine? It's a remarkable mission. Be proud of the United States military today. We did not get in a war. We took out targets of a country that said they would deliver nuclear warheads to you and to I. It's out. It's over. We'll take a break. We'll hear from J.D. Vance and much more after the break. Nice to see you. Remember, follow me on Twitter, Facebook. It's live on YouTube every day. Back in a moment. All right, let's get back to the conversation about this remarkable mission pulled off by the United States over the weekend. Here is J.D. Vance.
What we're prepared for is if they attack us in a maximal direction, first of all, we've got maximum defensive posture. I think that we're going to be able to defend as many of our people as possible. And of course, I'd encourage Americans to pray for our guys in the Middle East because, yes, they are under a significant amount of duress and a significant amount of threat right now. But then, of course, John, if the Iranians attack us, they're going to be met with overwhelming force. And I don't think the president could be clearer about this. If you look at what we did yesterday, John, we did not attack the nation of Iran. We did not attack any civilian targets. We didn't even attack military targets outside of the 3 nuclear weapons facilities that we thought were important to accomplish our goal of preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon. So how Iran responds, I think, is ultimately the ball is in their court. But if you look at what we did, it was very precise, very narrowly tailored to our objective. And if the Iranians decide to expand this, then that's ultimately their decision, and the President of the United States will respond in kind.
And there you have that. Now, my bigger concern going forward isn't Iran. Because don't think this is only about Iran. This is a global chess game, and China's got skin in this game, and a lot of it. The strike hit those in Beijing, too. China and Iran aren't just buddies. You see, they're economically joined at the hip. It's all about that black gold, oil. China's the biggest buyer of Iran-sanctioned crude. They purchase 90% of the country's oil exports, which is about 25% of the oil used in China. Think about that. It's also nearly 20% of Iran's GDP flowing straight into Tehran's coffers. Since they signed that 25-year comprehensive strategic partnership in 2021, China has been Iran's lifeline, helping them dodge U.S. sanctions with shady banking tricks and bartering deals, and yes, moving oil on the black market. Iran's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of the world's oil trade. China gets over 40% of its total crude from the Middle East, with Iran as its key supplier. And now, Iran has ordered the Strait of Hormuz to be closed. When we hit Iran's nuclear sites, we didn't just cripple their bomb-making dreams. We sent a shockwave through China's energy security, too. Now, why does this matter? Well, because China's economy is already wobbling. Trade wars, tariffs, and domestic production slowdowns are already hitting them hard. Losing access to cheap Iranian oil could spike their energy costs, choke their factories, and make Xi Jinping and his regime look weak. And let me tell you, folks, a desperate China is a dangerous China, a very dangerous China. They've got the capability to hit back. I'm not talking about some half-baked missile show. I'm talking about our power grid, for one. It's our Achilles heel. They know it. China's been probing our infrastructure for years, planting malware in our electrical systems, water plants, and telecom networks. A 2024 FBI report warned that Chinese hackers have pre-positioned tools for disruptive or destructive cyber attacks. That's a quote against U.S. critical infrastructure. If Xi feels cornered, he could greenlight a cyber attack to plunge our cities into darkness, disrupt our markets, sow chaos. Imagine, no power for weeks, hospitals shut down, your food spoils, ATMs don't work. That's the kind of retaliation we need to be ready for. If you don't have a generator now, probably is a good time to think about getting one. Word on the street is also that Xi Jinping's health is going south. Rumors have been swirling on X and in back channels that the guy's got serious health issues. Maybe he even suffered a stroke in the last year or so. He's been looking frail at public events, and his grip on power, it's getting shakier. A sick leader with a bruised ego is a recipe for a bad decision or two. On top of that, the People's Liberation Army is in the middle of a massive restructuring. She's purging generals, shuffling commands, and trying to make the PLA leaner and meaner, but it's causing chaos in the ranks. A 2025 report from the Carnegie Endowment noted China's military modernization is hitting snags, logistical bottlenecks, corruption, you name it. So, an unstable Xi, a disorganized PLA, and a hit to their oil supply. That's a powder keg, folks. It could make Xi lash out to save face. So far, China's only gone so far as to condemn the attacks, but will they go further? Here's Mike Pompeo. Like him or not, he's got this one dialed in. Listen.
And we should think, too, the Chinese are the primary purchaser of Iranian crude oil. when we talk about whether they might decide to close the Strait of Hormuz, the most directly and most immediately impacted will be the Chinese economy, not Western economies. And so I think the Chinese picked a loser here. I think Xi Jinping woke up today recognizing that he had picked the loser. And I am not surprised that neither he nor Vladimir Putin and Russia have actually come to the assistance of a nation that they promised they had a deep, forever partnership with. And they have just been no-shows as Iran has been decimated.
Now, I don't think we should count China out too soon. We've no idea what they're planning. I agree that China partnered with a loser in picking Iran, but I don't assume that China is going to accept that loss peacefully. Iran's nuclear program was a threat, no question. And Trump did what weak-kneed Biden could never. Take a stand and take it out. But will China sit idly by while their oil source gets squeezed down? Probably not. They've got the motive and the means to hit our grid. And with Xi's health rumors and the PLA's shakeup, he might just be reckless enough to try it. My hope is that after a show of domination like this, he wouldn't dare. But this is why we need Trump's America First policies more than ever. Strong borders, a beefed-up military, and a cyber defense that can stop China's hackers cold. We can't let the globalists in D.C. or the CCP in Beijing push us around. It's time to rally behind our president, secure our grid, and show the world that America's back and stronger than ever. While we're on the subject of cybersecurity, did you know that American homeowners nationwide have $32 trillion in equity? Cyber criminals are targeting it right now with a growing scam the FBI calls house stealing. House alarms, doorbell cameras, they won't work against these thieves because they're after your equity. If your title isn't being monitored, scammers can transfer the title of your home into their name, take loans against it, or even sell it behind your back. And you don't even know what's happened until those nasty grams show up in your mailbox. So, Home Title Lock. Get a free title history report and a 30-day free trial of triple lock protection today by going to HometitleLock.com. Use the promo code Gruber. HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Get on your way to peace of mind and a good night's sleep. I'll take a break and be right back. Welcome to it. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so obviously one of the ways that this president communicates all the time is by way of social media and Truth Social, right? And so here's what Donald Trump put out a while after that attack. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? MIGA, exclamation points. Make Iran great again. Just a short while ago, a video circulating now on the news channels and on social media of a hit on Iran's main prison where they keep political prisoners, blowing the front gate off the place. Don't know if those people have made it to freedom, but that's quite a statement from an Israeli hit, freeing all the political prisoners in Iran. That's stirring for political change. Iran of the 1970s was a great and progressive nation, and now it's a nation run by the mullahs, and women are not allowed to have an education or drive cars or be in public without their arms covered, their face covered, their bodies covered almost completely. Yeah. Remarkable. If you'd like to learn more about the United States and our place in this great world of ours, man, Hillsdale College has got everything you need. You can do what Ivy and I do. Watch these great videos. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. These videos, there's more than 40, by the way. They're all free. I tell you about this because I want you to be smarter. I want you to learn something. I want you to binge this and not Netflix. Next time you get a chance to watch something, learn something about the Constitution or Christianity in America or the Declaration of Independence or the Founding Fathers or why Congress works or doesn't work. It's all laid out for you. Gruber for Hillsdale.com, more than 40 programs. And these are series. The series on free trade and free market and capitalism. 7 programs. It's like binging a mini series. It's beautiful. Anyhow, it's all free. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. It's all free. Incredibly well done. You want to learn about America? Learn it from the best. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. Go there today. Check it out. I'll be right back. All right, keeping up. Look, the news cycle is continuing. The attacks over the weekend using those bunker buster bombs, a dozen just into Fordo alone, and just 6 holes. Think about how precision that is. The 6 originals go in, and then 6 more follow down the same shaft to do incredible damage following the first strike. So there you go, and it all happens within moments, of course. Now, Watching the developments overseas, it appears that Iran has had its prison targeted by the Israelis that holds all the political prisoners. And now we are reading that a strike has hit the Iranian's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the headquarters. We're told that hundreds of Revolutionary Guards may have been killed in this attack. We'll see how this plays out. Joining me now to help sort this out is Tyler Gray. He's the star of SEAL Team and a former Delta Force operator and the author of Forged in Chaos, a Warrior's Origin Story. Tyler, thank you for being here.
For having me, sir.
All right, so this mission, just this mission, the coordination, the precision of it, and the fact that there was not a single leak. The Democrats are all over there on Capitol Hill. Well, we didn't get told. Yeah, you didn't get told for a reason, because there wasn't a leak to the New York Times or the Washington Post or any place else. I heard Jennifer Griffin on Fox News say it was the most secure mission she's been aware of in 20 years of covering this stuff. Just reflect on the mission itself for a moment, if you would, sir.
Yeah, I was actually just talking about this yesterday. It's the thing that the U.S. military has that most people don't recognize. Do we have technology? Yes. Do we have, there's a lot of things that make the U.S. military what it is. But I would argue the main advantage we have is so much experience from so many years doing operations that we have a ton of complex procedures and in place that we've learned over time, and it allows the U.S. military to do very complex, coordinated missions. And this is one of the amount of effort that went into, and again, all the coordination that went into making this happen. We're really the only pull off this level of a mission.
Yeah, to fly. I mean, these B-2s. First of all, we sent a decoy flight west. I'm told we sent a whole squadron west. Hey, look over here. And we took 7 B-2s around the world. 37 hours, just shy of 37 hours round trip. More than 150 aircraft involved, including KC-135 Stratotankers and fighter jets. All of that. And then the precision, the fact that we can set a 30,000-pound bomb right down the exact same hole that the previous 30,000 pound just went down. I mean, the ability of our military was just underscored. And like I said, for these terrorists who think, oh, the United States is all bark and no bite. Good morning. That's quite a wake up call, isn't it?
Yeah, to me, I grew up, as a huge Star Wars fan, and to me, it reminded me of the original film, dropping it in the ventilation shaft, literally. So it was a very, very, very complex, very well coordinated, and as you said previously, a very well kept secret mission. And again, it was hats off to the entire U.S. military, but specifically, obviously, the Air Force. It was a great operation.
Yeah, incredible mission. All right, so here's where we stand today. We've been told and we've been warned by credible sources that during Joe Biden's tenure as president, when we had an open border, that all sorts of radicals came into this country, including something like 2,000 Iranian nationals, among others. Right now, terrorist attacks on American soil would come as no surprise, would it?
No, I hate to say this, but I've been saying it for quite some time, and in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before we have something like a Mumbai style attack in the U.S. I hate to say it, and I don't want to inspire fear, but at the same time, if you look at the border policies that we previously had, and it's only a matter of time before we have a massive sleeper cell and a homegrown terrorist threat, or not homegrown, but something that has activated sleeper cells within our border that's been here plotting and planning for years. It's only a matter of time before that happens. In our job of our infrastructure at home, and preparing for a possible attack of this nature. The government does a horrible job, as we all know, of being reactionary so many times. They wait until something happens, and then they come up with policies, procedures to fix it. We need to be more proactive going forward, because you have to deal with these threats before, not after they happen.
As a professional operator, let me ask you something. What is your situational awareness? You go and you sit in a restaurant, you walk through a mall, you're driving down the street. Give us some tips of what you look for, how you react when you're on the street. Look, I've got a CPL. People I know, carry concealed. That's all fine and well, but that's just one little piece of a bigger puzzle. What do you look for? What's on your mind when you drive down the street in a big city?
What I really notice, and again, it's very obvious to me. The fastest thing that a predator will spot is not prey. The fastest thing that a predator will spot is another predator. So for me, I'm looking for someone that I'm on the lookout. I'm hyper aware for someone that has a level of awareness. Trying to think of the way to describe it, but essentially I'm looking for someone who I can tell has some level of negative intent. And once you know what to look for, it's very obvious. I'm looking for someone that is hyper aware, looking for someone like myself, if that makes sense. If you look at somebody that's about to do something wrong or has ill intent, they will have a hyper level of awareness, because they're looking for someone that could stop them. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. You're a hunter looking for other hunters, basically. I mean,
Yep.
you're looking for somebody who's as plugged into the situation as you are. That makes perfect sense, because they're
It,
trying to round up the sheep, and you're the sheepdog, if you will. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. Um, Real quickly, we got about 30 seconds here to wrap up. Iran, I don't believe we're at war. People want to say, well, we've gone to war. We didn't go to war. We went and obliterated nuclear sites in Iran so we don't have to go to war. I'll give you the final word here.
look, a lot of people. It's funny. It's ridiculous to me. There's so much talk about being at war, and there are so many examples of previous administrations. Obama sent more predator drones taking out people for years than any other president. He
Sure.
sent troops to Libya, Syria, etc., and that wasn't a war. So to call this a war is just, in my opinion, quite frankly, laughable and politics as usual.
A successful hit is what it was. Tyler Gray, Forged in Chaos, A Warrior's Origin Story is the book. You can check it out. Tyler, thank you for being here. You come back anytime.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. There's some insight for you. Now you know what you're looking for. Other people that are hyper aware in the crowd. Keep an eye out. Be safe. I'll be right back. All right. Diving back into it now, these strikes in Iran, obviously, some of the strikes from Israel have impacted the Iranian oil output. And remember, China gets a lot of its oil from Iran, about 20 to 25%. And of that, that represents about 90% of Iran's oil production. So it's incredibly important to Iran to keep selling to China. But now the Iranians are saying close the Strait of Hormuz. What does all this mean? What does it mean on the economy? Well, Terry Sawchuk here, founder of Sawchuk Wealth, to how you kind of navigate us through this part of it. Terry, good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning, Steve. Good to see you, buddy.
I see oil prices are into the high 70s now. 10 days ago, they were between 60 and 65. They'd been there for a long time. They've gone up $12, $14 a barrel. Not a wild spike, but certainly something that's going to impact. I see gas prices are creeping up pretty good. What does this mean? Energy costs impact the economy, don't they?
Well, they sure do. They're certainly a component of inflation. And this is kind of that cat and mouse game that's going on between Trump and Powell, right? We want to
Sure.
lower interest rates, but Powell's like, well, what about inflation? And when you have oil going up, that's not great for the argument against inflation. But I think, it's temporary. The reality, Steve, is that it's like 2% of the oil that we use comes from that part of the world. So it's not like we need the Straits of Hormuz open. Like you said earlier, it's the Chinese. So I'm not sure what the strategic advantage is to Iran to cut off one of their biggest customers from the sale of oil. I don't really think long term that's going to be a viable strategy for them. And I also don't really think Iran, in the bigger scheme of things, is going to be a big deal. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not an expert on this, but it seems like they're kind of a paper tiger.
Yeah, to retaliate by cutting your own throat, that doesn't make a lot of sense. We're going to stop all the oil flowing. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And let's see, Brent crude right now is at 77 and a half. West Texas Intermediate at 74 and a half. So, I mean, those are up literally $12, $14 a barrel from where they were just 10 days ago. So that's going to have an impact. And the gas prices are going up about 15 cents. And
but you have to ask why. I mean, we haven't lost supply of oil, right? This is just gouging, in my opinion, a bit of speculation probably. Because we literally have not restricted our own access to oil. So why are our prices going higher?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, we're still down a quarter from where we were a year ago on the price of gas. A year ago, nationally, it was $3.45, and now it's $3.22. So, still about a quarter less. Where does this fit into? Do you think this has any impact overall on the economy? The markets don't seem to care at all. I looked at the futures here today. They don't seem to care at all about any of this.
No, I mean, right now it's a non-issue, right? I don't think this. I mean, when you think about starting a war, well, who's the war with? Iran doesn't have the ability to prosecute a war against the United States. Russia's embroiled in a war with Ukraine, right? China doesn't want any part of this. They just want their oil. So I just don't see how this is likely going to turn into a war per se. Could we get some sleeper cell attacks in the United States? Yeah, we could. And would that affect markets on a short-term basis? Yeah, it probably would. But in the end, Steve, the economy is still strong. This is why Powell refuses in part to cut interest rates, because when you look at things, the service sector is strong. The economy, the GDP is like 3.5%, 4%, somewhere in that neighborhood. Unemployment's still low. You won't see a real decline in economic output until you see a rise in unemployment.
Yeah, GDP is stronger than they anticipate. Look, and the other thing is this: you mentioned inflation earlier. You mentioned interest rates. None of those things have done what the experts predicted. Interest rates were going to fall, and inflation was going to soar under the tariffs. Inflation's at 2.4%. Unemployment's 4.2%. I mean, those are pretty good numbers, aren't they?
This is the worst recession in history, apparently, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this literally is not even close to a recession. And Steve, you and I have talked about this, and I hate to keep beating this drum, but to be honest with you, it's clear that the general media is the enemy of the United States. And they keep, there's just so many people that are either have lost their minds with TDS or are have an agenda and are trying to undermine everything that the president does. So I don't believe any of that stuff. I take it with a grain of salt, and I just look at the data. And by the way, we're heading into summer driving season, right? Through the 4th of July, Americans pick up their stuff, their kids to go on vacation. Maybe they're going to do more of a staycation. Maybe they don't fly. But, typically oil prices are going to peak over the next 3 to 4 weeks, probably anyway. So I don't really see this as being necessarily directly tied to Iran.
Exactly right. Here we are. Well, the air conditioning prices are going to go up here over the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Other than that, good Lord, it's hot. But we used to have a term for this. It's called summer. When you and I were kids, we
Right.
called it summer. I wonder,
Right.
it makes me think about one totally unrelated. Biden put in all these regulations on air conditioners, for example. I hope that Donald Trump scales some of that back because it's times like right now when it's 90, 95 degrees in some place across this country. You want air conditioning. You don't want it to break the bank to get it done. I hope that Donald Trump gets rid of some of this nonsense. I'll give you the last word here, Terry.
Well, on that note, Steve, think about this. Like, more people die from heat exhaustion, right, than probably frostbite when you think about it. So Biden was probably directly responsible for the killing of a bunch of elderly Americans, right? By
Yeah.
cutting the air conditioning availability. I mean, it just makes no sense. Like, none of what
Uh,
they ever did made sense. It's obvious that they were trying to undermine the sovereignty of the United States, in my opinion. Why? I don't know. They were on the Chinese payroll, probably. That's why.
it would appear that that's entirely true. Terry Sawchuk from Sawchuk Wealth. You can find him online, all sorts of places. Terry always appreciates your view on things. There's a QR code for those of you sitting at home with your phone. You can scan that right in, go right to Sawchuk Wealth. It's perfect. Thank you, guys. Terry, thank you as always.
My pleasure, buddy. I hope you feel a little better.
Well, I'm getting there. Thank you, sir. Have been under the weather for a little bit here lately. I think I don't care really, but I'm pretty sure we have COVID because Ivy got sick and lost taste. And it's the only disease I ever know, illness I've ever known that had lost taste. Anyhow, don't care much about COVID, just care about being here for you every single day. And I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so yeah, heat wave across a good part of the country from the Great Lakes to the East Coast. Governor Hochul has declared a state of emergency for New York City, as it's going to break its daily record. The daily record was 96 degrees, Central Park 1888. But it could hit 102 degrees on Tuesday. That's hot, right? It's not the hottest day on record in June. They've had 100. Well, I take that back. It would be the hottest day in June. 101 has been reached a couple of times in New York City in June. 107 degrees is the hottest temperature recorded in New York City all time at LaGuardia some years ago. In Michigan, the hottest it ever, here in my home state, 112. Oscoda County and Stanwood. Mayo and Stanwood and Mecosta and Oscoda counties, July 13, 1936. There was a heat wave, July 10, 11, 12, 1936. Grand Rapids was 106, Saginaw 107, Gull Lake 108, Flint 108, Newaygo 111, and 112 in Stanwood and Mayo. That's hot. That boy is that hot. By the way, if you'd like to save money on cooling your home and heating your home, WellConnect Geo is the place to be. WellConnect, the hybrid geothermal system. All you need is a well in your yard. If you're anywhere in the northern part of the country and you have a well in your yard, you're halfway to a hybrid geothermal system that'll save you as much as 90% on your utilities. That's right, because it'll cut your heating almost enough. You'll keep your furnace, you'll keep your air conditioner. This is an add-on. It's not a replacement, right? And if you finance the system, your savings on your utility bills will be more than what you pay for the system. It's just the way it is. And by the way, there are a lot of incentives out there right now from the federal government that may be going away at the end of the year. So now is the time. If you've ever thought about geothermal and how it can save you, because air conditioning is almost free on this deal. Seriously. Go look at it. WellConnectGeo.com. WellConnectGeo.com. If you're a do-it-yourself person, you can do it yourself. Otherwise, call your favorite HVAC folks. They'll put it in about one day. WellConnect Geo Thermal. WellConnectGeo.com. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. We've got a lot more straight ahead about this big mission into Iran after the break on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, kicking off another brand new hour of the program from Studio G, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. Remember, this show can result in elevated levels of American optimism and enthusiasm, so you have been warned. We're live in all 50 states and around the world. A dirty job, but I'm happy to do it for you every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the heat wave hitting us means more hot weather for the next couple of days. For New York, it's going to be flat out rude, like I said. Heat and humidity will squeeze the Big Apple into a baked apple, for sure. Number two, another activist judge has shown his colors, ordering the illegal alien Kilmar Abrejo Garcia released, even though he's facing several felonies for human trafficking and he's here illegally. These people. And number three, here again is how we started on Friday with a big question. This is what I asked you on Friday's Free for All program. The biggest question today, do you support the United States joining the war against Iran? And if so, how far does that support go? Does it include bombing runs, guided missile strikes? Yes or no? And what about sending in ground troops? We have 40,000 soldiers in the Middle East already, so how far? That was the question I asked you to start Friday. Do you stand with President Trump no matter what, or is there a line you won't cross? I asked that as well. Well, it seems the decision to bomb Iran is being met with favorable returns, at least for most people. It's being well received because it's not an ongoing event. It's not Afghanistan. It's not Iraq. It's not 20 years of being somewhere with no real outcome. This is remarkable. Former Vice President Mike Pence praised President Trump for hitting Iran decisively. Listen to this.
But I have to tell you, I couldn't be more proud of President Trump's decisive leadership in this moment, or the extraordinary professionalism and courage of our armed forces that brought about this historic mission. I mean, I must tell you, I saw last night as really a continuation of the policies of our administration, where we isolated Iran as never before. We got out of the Iran nuclear deal. We used force, first against Syria when they used chemical weapons on their own people. We took down the ISIS caliphate with our military and their leader. And, of course, the president's decision, which is very reminiscent to last night, the president's decision to take down Qasem Soleimani. I've been there at his side, and I must tell you, I honestly had no doubt that if the Iranians did not step up and make a deal to dismantle entirely the uranium enrichment program, that President Trump would act, our armed forces would deliver, and that's just what happened.
And there you have it, Mike Pence. Of course, you know, some might say he's one of those neocons inside the circle. Maybe he is. But for most people, hitting Iran and taking away their nuclear capabilities seems to be the right thing. Now, there are, comments being made. Russia will give Iran nuclear warheads now. No, they won't. No, they won't. Let me just tell you, that's not going to happen. And no other country is going to give them nuclear warheads either. That's just not going to happen. I can assure you that is not in the cards. Here's what's happening at this hour. Massive airstrikes in Tehran as the IAF is pounding dozens of targets in Iran. Dozens of targets, including the prison where all the political prisoners are held, EVIN prison. Israel blew the gates out of the place. And people whose loved ones suffer in there want to free them. They're trying to get them out of there. They're trying to figure out if they can get those people out. That's one of the hits. Now, there was a hit that hit the Republican Guard headquarters, doing great damage to the Republican Guard. So you've got that going on. It's one thing after another. Now, what about Iranians living here in America? What do they think about what they've seen? Well, many think it's time for a change of leadership in Tehran. Listen to this.
Very proud of the president, but I just want to say, as an Iranian on this panel, there is no diplomacy with the IRGC. They use negotiation and diplomacy as a delay tactic to do whatever the heck they want in secret. So when I hear diplomacy with Iran, I just feel like that's a joke.
So you think ultimately we have to have regime change?
I think that there's no other choice with this regime. Like the rabbi said, this is theological for them. This is getting to heaven. This is not, they're not playing with the same core values that Americans have.
All right.
They have the opposite core value. We value
Yep.
peace and life. They value jihad and martyrdom. We don't think alike.
Yep.
We don't think alike. That's right. We don't think alike. But some of the more predictable responses are like the next one. Democrats lining up against President Trump in favor of our enemies, including Iran. I mean, have you seen this? These folks went from flying the Ukrainian flag in their protest to flying the Palestinian flag in their protest. And suddenly, isn't it remarkable how many Iranian flags they have? And they've got the placards, hands off Iran. I mean, it's almost like these things are pre-planned. Like they go to the warehouse. All right, today it's Palestinian protest. Let's pick those. Today it's Iranian protest. Let's pick those. Come on, people. Anyhow, Democrats signing up is so predictable. Listen to this.
But it's not an operation that should have ever been authorized by the president in the absence of intelligence showing that Iran had made the decision to break out and build a bomb. The intelligence I've seen, and it's been limited, indicates that Iran had certainly enriched uranium but had not made the decision to build a bomb or pursue the mechanism of a bomb. And in the absence of that, this is not a strike that should have been ordered. In watching Hegseth during that press conference this morning, we saw a lot of arrogance from the defense secretary. And as wars in the Middle East have demonstrated, arrogance is a deadly commodity.
Adam Schiff, there he is, your hero, Adam Schiff. Yeah. I don't think that, I don't think I care what Adam Schiff thinks. It wouldn't matter if Donald Trump had gone over there, destroyed the nuclear weapons of Iran, freed the political prisoners, exacted political change in Tehran, and turned Iran into a democratic republic in the Middle East. That wouldn't even matter. You see, these people are so hell-bent on opposing anything that Trump does, it wouldn't matter what he did. He could turn water into wine. It would not matter. Not to these people. They're not serious. And sadly, the people of California, that's your representation. How disappointed must you be in that every time you hear that guy talk? I mean, most of California is conservative, except for the big cities where they want handouts and illegal aliens want free stuff. Shocking, embarrassing, infuriating might be the word. Anyhow, California, good luck with that representation. That and Padilla, you know, the guy that bum rushed Kristi Noem and got arrested, all because he wanted to make a scene. Oh, the Republicans are arresting members of the United States Senate. Yeah, they're not. But when you act like clowns, you get treated like a clown. And sadly, the politicians coming out of California, too many of them are exactly that, clowns. Clowns. All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Don't forget to tell your friends about the program. Follow us here. Follow me on X today. I need 25 new followers, all right? And Facebook. Do that. I'll be right back. All right, back to it here on a busy, busy Monday. I'm glad you're here for the conversation. Obviously, the whole world began talking about the precision of the United States military devastating Iran's nuclear capabilities in a middle of the night run over the weekend. Asaf Romorowski is a PhD, a Mideast scholar, the executive director of the Association for the Study of the Middle East and Africa, ASMEA, and the executive director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East, SPME, an expert on U.S.-Israel relations as well. Asaf, good to have you back on the program. Nice to see you here today. Give me your assessment, your assessment of this mission. 37 hours those B-2s flew from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, all the way to deliver its ordnances in Iran and then all the way home. Never detected more than 150 aircraft. A remarkable mission, really. What are your thoughts?
Well, good morning, Stephen. Thanks for having me. So, first of all, a transformative day. I mean, really, what you saw here was a culmination of the U.S. and Israel coming together. They were able to create a sense of deception in the midst of trying to plan all of this, which was great. And you saw, operationally wise, a phenomenal execution. The Israelis in the past 10 days have been able to basically command air superiority. And as far as we know today, they've basically devastated about 75% of the major programs. Not to mention, over the past 10 days, they took out the key leadership, the scientists, and the 25% that was missing, where they were looking for support here, was exactly when it came to the use of the MOPS, the massive ordnance penetrators through the B-2s, where the United States was able to be helpful here and go into those areas of Fordo and Ifshahan, where there was difficulty getting into those areas, and only the United States has that capability. So what you said, what we did here was really, I think, coming together as far as changing the Middle East. Iran was on the verge of a bomb, and we did what needed to happen here. And it was very clear to my mind that Trump's warnings were real, and there were teeth to his threats. In the sense, not to his threats, but to the fact that, there are clear deadlines, and deadlines mean something. And as far as red lines that were broken along the way and was executed to perfection.
Yeah. Let me ask you about where we are now. I'm watching new reports coming out of the Middle East today, Asaf. Looks like the IDF is delivering a number of airstrikes now. They hit the prison there that holds the majority of the political prisoners, I think, in an attempt. They blew the front gate off the place. Precision strike. They've hit the Revolutionary Guard in its headquarters. Apparently hundreds reported killed there. I mean, the IDF is not slowing down. In fact, it looks like they're accelerating today. They want to finish this job with Iran right now, don't they?
Yes, and it's also worthy of note the fact that, in contrast to the Iranians in their retaliation, the Israelis have been very clear about distinguishing between combatants and non-combatants. When you're seeing the retaliation coming into Israel and the fact that the Iranians are targeting hospital and civilian populations, whereas Israel is targeting only the military facilities and the people who are contributing to the entire contribution of the nuclear program. Also, solidifying the objective that is that they are out to take out the regime, not the people themselves, and distinguishing between who is really running the country, this tyrannical entity run by Khamenei, and the fact that the people have been suffering under this tyrannical regime. So the Iranian Guard and removing their leadership is extremely positive, and the people who have suffered under their heavy hand.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you about Tom Homan warning that there were 12 or 1,300 Iranian nationals that we know of that came through Joe Biden's open border. The concern for New York City, for D.C., for Miami, these cities have all put in elevated states of alert. I'm sure that's true. It's true in Los Angeles as well, and other cities across this country. Elevate alerts for terrorist attacks. What's your thought on that, Asaf? I mean, how vulnerable are we in some of these places?
We are. I mean, and sleeper cells have been a long problem in the United States. Our open borders have been also an increasingly contributing factor to all of this. All you got to do is look at what's been happening on the American college campuses. Let's not forget exactly what took place with the recent attacks in the United States, as far as Boulder, as far as DC, as far as backgrounds of ideology coming in. We don't do any background checks. When you look today at the amount of foreign students who are coming to American universities. Nobody asks them before they come in the admissions process, were you ever a member of a current terrorist organization? And so they're bringing in the ideology, similar on the border, and with a sole intent of taking over our institutions and turning America on its head. And this process is taking place all over the place. It is symptomatic of a larger cultural problem that we're facing. And sanctuary cities, immigration issues, and whatnot. These are all part of the problems, and you're seeing it obviously now play out in the elections in New York as it relates to some of the comments that are coming out of Mamdani and his mayoral candidacy.
He's leading right now. Stop. I want to give you the last word on it. He's leading in this. What do they call it? Wade voting? The tiered voting system. He's apparently beating Cuomo in this ranked choice. That's what they call it, ranked choice voting system. I only got 20 seconds here. How bad would that be?
That would be horrible. I mean, Mamdani himself is a representative. He was a member of the Students for Justice in Palestine, which was a group that affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood. He's gotten support from the Council of American Islamic Relations. It has open ties to terrorist organizations. All you got to do is follow the money and the ideology. That would be bad for New York all around and bad for America.
Asaf Romorowski, I appreciate you being here as always, my friend. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you have it. All right. And after the break, an attempted mass shooting just outside of Detroit over the weekend ends when the guy gets run over by a truck and shot. Yeah, that was the end of that. I'll be back with the story. All right, so this is maybe my favorite second story of the day. Comes out of Wayne, Michigan. Just there's suburban Detroit. So a gunman wearing a tactical vest, carrying long guns, came out of Detroit church during a special vacation Bible school service. Happened around 11 a.m. Grosse Pointe Community Church, located Glenwood Road, wherever that is. Anyhow, about 150 people were at the service when a 31-year-old man began driving erratically around the church, exited his vehicle in a tactical vest, armed with a long gun and a handgun, and began shooting at the church. But here's what happened next. A church member noticed the shooting and drove over the man with his pickup truck. Anthony said that'd be a great ad for the F-150. Maybe it is. He was run over by one of our members who said the pastor, Bobby Kelly Jr., said he was run over by one of our members who saw this happening when he was coming to the church. It gave two security people at the church, also referred to as church members, a chance to return fire. They shot him and killed him. So his day ended badly. He was run over and then shot and killed. End of problem. But we call that neutralization. Yeah. Neutralized 100%. Take care of your health, would you please? The Wellness Company is there to do that for you. The Wellness Company. It's doctors put together the best emergency packages. If you don't know what's going to happen, tornado, power outage, whatever could happen to you, and you need medication in your house in case of emergency, they've got these state-of-the-art gold standard emergency kits at the Wellness Company. They'll have antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics. They'll have stuff to dress your wounds and take care of you. Whatever kit you need, first aid kit, emergency kit, travel kits. They've got all these kits. I've got them at my house. You should too. 100%. TWC.health/Gruber. You can save 10%. TWC.health/Gruber. Oh, and by the way, the Parasite Cleanse. I went through it. Feel great. The Parasite Cleanse. It is the gold standard Parasite Cleanses. It is hot right now. You can save $60. Get free shipping on that product right now. TWC.health/Gruber. All your health needs taken care of. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so let's try bite 15. I actually want to start there. Wondering how the bunker buster works, right? You wondering about that? Well, I found this great video. Explains it pretty well. A kind of a neat video here. And even if you listen to it, it'll explain it pretty well. So I want you to to enjoy this. Roll it.
How does the 30,000-pound GBU-57 bunker buster punch through 60 meters of concrete? Let's take a closer look at this massive earth-penetrating bomb. Dropped from 30 kilometers up by a B-2 stealth bomber, it accelerates under gravity and aerodynamic shaping to reach supersonic speed. The moment it hits, the impact energy is like lightning striking steel, pure kinetic force. Its warhead is made of a nickel-chromium steel alloy, tougher and more heat-resistant than standard steel, allowing it to survive the violent impact intact. Its streamlined body and adjustable tail fins, similar to JDAM's, ensure the bomb strikes at the optimal angle for penetration. GPS and inertial guidance systems give it pinpoint accuracy within 1.2 meters. But why doesn't it explode on contact? A delayed fuse triggers the warhead about 0.3 seconds after impact. Some versions even use a multi-stage fuse. The first charge opens a path, and the second pushes deeper before the main warhead detonates. Even if it doesn't fully penetrate, the blast, 10 times more powerful than any other U.S. conventional bomb, can destroy everything within 600 meters.
It's remarkable. You saw it's within 600 meters, it just destroys everything through 90 meters of concrete. That's 300 feet of concrete it'll go through. And then the way we did this at Fordo, we dumped 12 of these 30,000-pound bombs in there. But there are only 6 holes. 6 holes. Because we put them right down on top of each other. So if the first one bored a hole through the concrete, those coming afterwards, I mean, the amount of damage has to be really remarkable, I would think. I've been talking about this, so we'll go back to bite 12 here, Anthony. Sleeper cells. I keep asking my guests about sleeper cells. Because apparently it's a big concern right now, as it should be. Tom Homan weighed in on this. Here's what he said.
Can you assess that issue particularly? How many Iranians are in the country that are in sleeper cells trying to do bad to America right now?
Well, look, you and I have talked about this many times. I said the last 4 years, my biggest concern was this open border was the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. So I pulled numbers this morning just from a CBP under Joe Biden. There was 1,272 nationals of Iran released in the country between OFO and the Border Patrol. And you compare that to the Trump administration, zero. Right, 0 releases. And right now, because of President Trump's leadership, we have the most secure border in my lifetime, most secure border in the history of this nation. So we have a secure border. That was President Trump's big win on securing this nation. So we're not releasing people in this country. Special interest aliens aren't crossing that border undetected. But under Joe Biden, we had over 10 million people cross that border. But my biggest concern from day one, beyond the fentanyl, beyond the sex trafficking women and children, were the 2 million known gotaways. Over 2 million people crossed that border. We don't know who they are, where they came from, because they got away, because Border Patrol was so overwhelmed with the humanitarian crisis that Biden created that over 2 million people crossed the border and got away. That is my biggest concern, and that's what created the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen.
Completely agree. Huge vulnerability. Huge vulnerability. And by the way, I want to take you back in the time machine. You probably remember this. An Iranian terrorist at our southern border, and there's a guy there recording saying, "Who are you?" You'll know who I am. He's a known terrorist from Iran who came over the border illegally and was let go. And he was arrogant as hell about it. Remember this? Listen.
You are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're going to know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
Yeah, there it is. That guy, a known terrorist, brought to you by the Biden administration. Thank you so much, Joe Biden. Thank you so much to the Democrats for allowing that to go on. I guess we got one more thing here, and that is CNN. They questioned Donald Trump, when Donald Trump said we obliterated the Iranian nuclear, how does he know that? Why would he say that? It's typical CNN crap. But here is one example of Chicken Noodle News doing the right thing, applauding Donald Trump for his efforts. Listen.
Well, I'm fascinated, and candidly, I'm impressed. I never really could understand what the 2-week pause meant or what it was for. What was left to negotiate? What were we going to expect the Iranians to offer? In many ways, it was much like a Trump deal. I mean, he's trying to make a deal to buy an apartment, but all of a sudden the apartment was destroyed. So where's the negotiation? So I think the use of deception and trickery in this case, first of all, was successful, but second of all, saved the potential loss of American lives.
Yeah, there you have it. Saved American lives. What do you think about all this? What do you think about it? Send me an email. Go to stevegruber.com. By the way, some great stories on there today. Liberty Page has hit it out of the park today. Man, you want to read Liberty Page every single day at stevegruber.com. You'll enjoy it. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's a bit sarcastic, or maybe it's always a bit sarcastic. She will entertain you. Best. Anyhow, you can go to stevegruber.com and find out more. Send me an email. I always appreciate when you do that. I do. Let's see here. I'm just getting the latest from the internet on everything that's happening, and it just seems that the IDF is pounding sites in and around Iran right now. Let's see here. I'm just trying to think of the latest. I mean, they blew the door off the prison. They blew the door off the prison where all the political prisoners are held. They hit the Republican Guard headquarters today. Reports are hundreds were killed there. These are apparently, the best of the best. Well, it's quite a morning. The Israelis not letting this go after the big hits from the Trump administration on Iran's nuclear capabilities. I can tell you that Iran is in real trouble because Israel is not letting it go. Anyhow, all right. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Glad you're here for the conversation. After that U.S. air raid that devastated Fordo and other nuclear facilities in Iran, you have to ask yourself, how far is Iran going to go? Apparently, no interest in surrendering at this point. The Israelis, the IDF, pounding several sites in and around Tehran today, blowing the doors off a prison that hold the political prisoners in Tehran that have been held there for years. Their families trying to get them out. I don't know what the success or failure of that is. The Republican Guard, its headquarters hit by Israel today. The report is hundreds dead, but that's unconfirmed at this point. We'll see how it plays out. Joining me now is Shaheen Gabati, a U.S. educated nuclear engineer, a member of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. As part of Iran's parliament in exile. Shaheen, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
All right. So obviously, it's your country. You're not there at this point because of your political status with the regime in Tehran. But what do you make of the Israeli-Iranian war and the United States getting involved? Your thoughts?
Well, Steve, I think what's very important to put into consideration is the fact that there has been a war between the Iranian people and this regime for the past 4 decades. I think that is the key issue, that this regime and the Iranian people have been basically fighting. This regime has imposed itself on the Iranian people, and the Iranian people are striving to bring about change and democracy for themselves. And I think it's very important to appreciate the fact that there has been 5 major nationwide uprisings in Iran in the last 7.5 years alone. And each uprising is stronger, more inclusive, including people from all walks of life and all age groups. The last one, which was in September 22 and last until early 2023, included all 31 provinces, more than 300 cities and towns throughout the country. So that clearly shows where the sentiment of the Iranian people is, to bring about regime change. But I think, as Madam Mariam Rajavi, the president-elect of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, has said time and again, and as recent as past Wednesday before the European Parliament, that is the task and the mission of the Iranian people and the resistance. And to that effect, we have never sought and we will not seek funds from any foreign government, neither weapons or boots on the ground. And I think that's very important to realize that there is a viable alternative out there in the National Council of Resistance of Iran with a clear-cut program, the 10-point plan that Madam Rajavi has articulated, which, by the way, has garnered a lot of support internationally, including the support by the majority members of the U.S. House of Representatives in a bipartisan way. So change in Iran is within reach. And all it requires is a good policy and to be on the side of the Iranian people and their resistance. And I think the chances of the regime to be overthrown has never been any better.
I think that's true. It's the weakest point. It's been in 46 years since the revolution of 1979. I think this is the weakest point for the Iranian regime in Tehran. Meanwhile, as we speak, Iran's foreign minister is meeting with Vladimir Putin. Others have suggested that they would give Russia, and maybe others would give Iran nuclear weapons without having to develop them. I think that's I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a lot of bluster and bull. But why would Iran want nuclear weapons at this point? Because they just sustained a tremendous blow from the United States military. They're getting pounded again. How important is it that you don't allow this regime to have nuclear weapons? And number two, the Republican Guard getting hit, headquarters getting hit, hundreds dead is the report. I don't have any confirmation of that. Maybe you have some information. How devastating is that to the regime?
Well, one has to keep in mind that the entity that has kept this regime in power is the IRGC, or as you said, Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. They, and plus the Minister of Intelligence Security, have been so basically responsible for repressing the Iranian people. And in order to get a sense of how bad repression in Iran has been, I think one figure says it all. In the last 4 decades, 120,000 Iranians, men and women, as young as 13-year-old teenage girls and as old as 72-year-old grandmothers, have been executed by this regime. 120,000 of them. And who has done this massacre? The IRGC and the Minister of Intelligence and Security, MIS. So yeah, they are very much despised by the Iranian people. And as I said, the Iranian people are very much striving to bring about a change to the
Right.
situation by regime change. And one has to keep in mind, Steve, that the ultimate solution for all the regime's nefarious conduct, driving to acquire nuclear weapons, supporting the proxy group and terrorists throughout the region, and repressing Iranian people, comes only when this regime is overthrown by the Iranian people for the Iranian people. That's the ultimate solution. Actually,
Last question.
21 years ago.
Real quickly, I've only got about a minute here, Shaheen. I want to
21
get
years ago, sure, Madame Rajavi was at the European Parliament, and she said, look, appeasement or foreign war are not the solution. There's a third option, and that is about regime change by the Iranian people. And now this is more tangible than ever before.
All right, real quickly, even prison, where the political prisoners are held, a violent place, a place that is notorious for torture, execution, and abysmal treatment. Looks like the front door was blown off this place today. I don't know what the situation is. Maybe you've got a little bit of information. We've only got about 30 seconds here. What can you tell me?
Sure, that I saw in the news. One has to wait for the reports to come about what's the situation inside the prison. But as you said, even prison is synonymous with misery, repression in Iran. And one has to keep in mind that this was built under the rule of the Shah, the previous monarch, which also was a dictator and was rejected by the Iranian people. And the mullahs, continued using it. So that is synonymous with repression and torture. And obviously, the Iranian people know that how dreadful the regime has been to the prisoners. So, but for details of what happened, one has to wait to get more details.
All right. Shaheen Abadi, U.S. educated nuclear engineer, a member of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, NCRI. We'll stay in touch, sir, and try to figure out what the truth on the ground is as the smoke clears, and maybe, just maybe, the Iranian people find freedom before it's too late. Shaheen, thank you for being here.
But one thing is for a fact, the Iranian people will gain freedom, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, time to check in now on sports with Brock.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the NBA champions for 2025. They defeated the Indiana Pacers 103-91 last night in the seventh and deciding game of the NBA Finals. Thunder take the series 4-3. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 29 points and dished out 12 assists. He was named Finals MVP. It's the Thunder's first NBA title since relocating from Seattle in 2008. LSU is the national champion of college baseball. They beat Coastal Carolina 5-3 to sweep the best-of-3 championship series 2-0. It's LSU's 8th national title, all since 1991. A full schedule of games in Major League Baseball. American League winners included the New York Yankees, Detroit, and Seattle. National League winners included Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Colorado. And Keegan Bradley birdied the 18th hole to win the PGA Tour's Travelers Championship in Connecticut. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Well, the U.S. Embassy in Qatar, the people there are being told to shelter in place. Imminent threat of danger at the U.S. Embassy in Qatar. Now, Qatar, the UAE, Bahrain, all those countries participated to help the United States deliver this blow to Iran because they have bases there. We have bases there. Refueling efforts were continued there, and so on and so forth. So a lot going on with all of that that we're keeping an eye on. It's happening quickly. So we're watching this, the U.S. Embassy in Qatar, under some sort of threat. At this just moments ago, it was issued a shelter-in-place order for that facility. I'm watching this happen and just keeping up with it, and we'll have more after the top of the hour. In fact, we will dig deeper and talk more about this remarkable military attack, this mission. Unparalleled, really. It's really unparalleled. 37 hours. Those bombers flew out of Missouri to hit Iran. Think about how remarkable that is. And not one leak. Not one leak. Yeah, that's why we don't tell Democrats anything important. I'll be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to see you here today. All right, kicking off the brand new hour here. Steve, we're so glad to have you along for the conversation as we continue to rip back the curtain and show you the truth about just about everything. Look, we're fearless here. It's the pursuit of common sense every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Hillsdale County teaming up with the White House to tell the story of America. That's a cool story, right? That's a cool story. Number two, the Michigan Law, another college under attack for its systemic racial bias. Yeah, that. And number three, all eyes, all conversations focused on the war between Israel and Iran that we joined in the middle of the night on Saturday to deliver massive ordinances to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities altogether. A dozen bunker buster bombs delivered to Fordo. Only 6 holes because one followed the other into each spot. The devastation, we're told, is remarkable. This morning in around Tehran, the IDF continues to strike. The IDF continues to strike targets in Iran. One of those strikes hit the Republican Guard headquarters. We're told that hundreds have been killed, but we're waiting to see what the story is there. Look, these are the latest headlines. I'm going to keep you up to speed on this. Iran hoping to disrupt worldwide oil supplies by voting to close the Strait of Hormuz. About 20% of the world's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. It should not impact the United States. We supply our own oil. We are self-sufficient when it comes to oil. In fact, we are a net exporter now. We should have no issue with this whatsoever. None. But watch, gas prices are going up as it is. They've gone up 15, 20 cents already. Right? You've got that. Here's another headline. The White House slams CNN report claiming Democrats were not briefed, that is, on Iran. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries were both contacted prior to the Operation Midnight Hammer. Yeah, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt demanded CNN retract a story that claimed Schumer and Jeffries were not briefed. CNN reported that House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune were briefed on the strikes ahead of time, but Schumer and Jeffries received notifications only before the public announcement as well after the attack. Leavitt called the report fake news. This is fake news. The White House made bipartisan courtesy calls to congressional leadership and spoke to Senator Schumer before the strike. Representative Jeffries could not be reached until after, but he was briefed. CNN, please retract. Again, more fake news out there. The CNN report added that Senator Mark Warner of Virginia and Representative Jim Hines of Connecticut, both members of the intelligence committees in the Senate and House, were not told until after the strikes. Well, gee, what does that tell you? You can't be trusted. Several cities, New York, D.C., L.A., Miami, all on heightened levels of alert for terrorist attacks. Be vigilant, my friends. There are people in this country that do not like us, that will do whatever they can to harm us. Many came in by way of the open border of Joe Biden, and many were here from a variety of other ways. Some of them were born here. Let that sink in for a second. They were born here and hate America. They want to turn America into whatever the Middle East is, or to have some sort of dictatorial religion in charge of all of us. Sorry, that's not going to happen. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. The Democrats, by the way, lining up. I want to jump to bite 11 here. Democrats lining up against Donald Trump in favor of our enemies, including Iran. It was one of the more predictable outcomes of this attack. This attack was so remarkable. So remarkable. 150 aircraft, 37-hour round trip for these B-2s out of Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri. An incredible attack that was focused, pinpoint accuracy, going after only these facilities. Not civilian populations, nothing like that. And yet the Democrats find a way to complain. Listen to this.
But it's not an operation that should have ever been authorized by the president in the absence of intelligence showing that Iran had made the decision to break out and build a bomb. The intelligence I've seen, and it's been limited, indicates that Iran had certainly enriched uranium but had not made the decision to build a bomb or pursue the mechanism of a bomb. And in the absence of that, this is not a strike that should have been ordered. In watching Hegseth during that press conference this morning, we saw a lot of arrogance from the defense secretary.
Absolutely.
And as wars in the Middle East have demonstrated, arrogance.
Yeah, and let me tell you why. Iran has the ability to have the nuclear material necessary for a bomb right now. They don't have to declare to the world, hey, we're building a bomb. They've got Fordo. They're a quarter mile underground. A quarter mile underground with a top secret facility that nobody even knew about. They built it secretly. And then it was revealed here 15 years ago that they had done this. The idea that, well, we're going to build a bomb now. Really? That's why Adam Schiff is most useless and embarrassing and dangerous, sort of well, they hadn't declared. We should never have done this. Right, we should wait till they've actually got the bomb and a delivery system that could reach American shores. Let's see here. The GBU bunker busters has long been regarded, the site at Fordo has long been considered impenetrable because of its construction inside a mountain. Fordo is gone, Trump declared on social media, calling the operation an amazing success. And then he warned that Iran must make peace immediately or they will get hit again. They put in 12 of these bombs into Fordo during Midnight Hammer. And then 2.5 dozen Tomahawk cruise missiles. Precision weapons. 125 to 150 aircraft were used, including refueling these B-2 Spirits. One of the most secretive and lethal aircraft ever built, manufactured by Northrop Grumman. Famed for its stealth technology, which enables it to bypass even the most sophisticated air defense systems, flying virtually undetected. It can deliver over 40,000 pounds of payload and has a global reach because of aerial refueling. I mean, this is a remarkable mission. The Ayatollah warning us that we're going to get irreparable damage. Well, you already got some there, pal. Irreparable damage has already been delivered to you. All right, we're going to take a break here. You're up to speed. The Iranians are getting hit again today by Israel in a variety of places in and around Tehran and elsewhere as the IDF works to close the deal and end the threat altogether of Iran forever. We'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Yeah, Caroline Levitt telling CNN to get their story straight about who was briefed and who wasn't. That's just, among other things. There's no surprise here that, Democrats are complaining. It wouldn't matter what Donald Trump did as president. Oh, you have to notify Congress. That's something else in a minute. You can't declare war without notifying Congress. It's interesting. Barack Obama dropped what, 12,000, 14,000 bombs all over the Middle East during his time as president. I don't remember them saying that then, but maybe I have a short memory. Reagan Reese is joining me now. She's the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. Reagan, nice to see you today. Obviously, the news media just as dishonest today as they were Friday before it all started. And it's
Shocker.
sad. The corporate media cannot keep it straight. They cannot give this president his respect, frankly. He did the right thing here. He did it clean. He got in, he got out. A remarkable mission. What is your reaction?
Yeah, you know what frustrates me? Just about how the media is covering President Trump through this entire administration, not just specific to these strikes. I think they have been unable to give the president credit when he has done the right thing at all. And they seem to justify it by the fact that they missed Joe Biden's decline over the last 4 years. I constantly see this in Politico Playbook, for example, every morning. I see it in Axios, that they are justifying the fact that they need to keep asking President Trump hard questions. They need to keep scrutinizing him, even if maybe what he did was correct, because, we missed Joe Biden's decline for 4 years. And therefore, now we have to make sure that we're really tough on Donald Trump. It's completely missing the point. No, you missed Joe Biden's decline for 4 years. You need to take a step back and look at your entire reporting and really look inward and ask yourself, how are you wrong when you're covering President Trump? How are you biased when you're covering President Trump? How are you biased when you're covering the Democrats? The list goes on and on and on. And it's incredibly frustrating to me that is really the justification that you'll see when they, choose to make mistakes like this or really hammer President Trump over the top of the head. It's incredibly frustrating. And that's why I think the American people should not be so quick to trust the mainstream media again and say, oh, yeah, they learned their lesson. I'm going to give them a second chance. I don't think that there is anything honest about the mainstream media.
No, and it's terribly sad because what they have done is they've empowered other people to, to take the streets. Here's something else, Reagan, that I found cool. First, they had the Ukrainian flags. Then they had their Palestinian flags. Then they had their Iranian flags. I mean, it's like they've got this warehouse for protesters. Okay, what are we protesting? Oh, here's the flag department. Oh, we've got our placards over here. It's
don't forget the pride flag.
The pride flags and trans flags. Those are all in a different department, of course. But this rent-a-riot, which is what this is. Okay, call your friends. We've got a protest starting in an hour, and they've got their signs, and none of them are homemade. They've got their flags. They've got their bullhorns, and these people have got to be being paid. Look, Reagan, these people are getting paid. There's no way that what are they, professional rioters? Honestly.
It seems like all signs are pointing that direction. We had a riot squad out on that weekend, that big weekend where there was the military parade and then the No Kings protests in response to those. And we had a riot squad, and our reporters were able to get into these group chats and Google Doc Excel sheets where the protesters were all coordinating with each other and saying, hey, there are these 200 protests or whatever across the country. Now we're going to move to this ICE facility here, and then we're going to go to this park, and now we're going to storm into this train station. It was all mapped out, and our reporters were able to infiltrate that and kind of figure that out and go where these protests were going to be. And so that's like a sign right there that you're like, oh, okay, maybe they are protesting these things, but or they are this is a coordinated effort. Just a quick anecdote, Steve. I was up in upstate New York last week, and I stopped in this pizza shop, and I was talking to the owner, and when he heard I was from Washington, D.C., the first thing he said was, oh my gosh, did you see that military parade? Did you get to go? And he, continues to tell me how he can't believe that anyone would protest something that is so pro-American, that is so pro-military, that is celebrating our forces. And so I just think that when you see these protests, they are loud and they are annoying, but I don't think that they represent the majority of Americans. I think the majority of Americans would probably say that, yeah, these protests were pretty, or this military parade was pretty cool. And I bet a majority of Americans probably aren't hung up on the little details in a strike on Iran.
You know, I think you're right. And I'm going to tell you this. A number of people in conservative media have been openly opposed to any intervention in Iran. You know that. But I think that this, for the people that supported Donald Trump, for the MAGA movement, everything that we're seeing here, back to this thing over the weekend, from what I'm hearing here in Michigan, where I'm located, and when I go to D.C., which I'll be there in a couple days again, it seems to me most people are pretty good with this. They don't want boots on the ground, but they're okay with destroying the nuclear capabilities of a regime that says they'll kill Americans if given the chance. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, well, I would say just the back and forth, the discussion that MAGA has is something that should be welcomed. The base should be welcoming the challenging of ideas. They should be talking through issues, because I think that why it's not just important now, but it's also going to be important in a couple of years when President Trump is no longer in office, and to continue to have these discussions, to think about what it means to be a MAGA Republican or a Trump supporter, or what the conservative party is going to be moving forward. Without President Trump really in this picture, I think is a really important conversation to have. And I think that's what you're starting to see here as these different camps start to argue things out. And so I don't look at it as a bad thing. I think that it should be welcomed amongst the party. And so, we'll see if the posture towards argument or discussion changes in the coming weeks.
We'll see. Reagan Reese, White House correspondent from the Daily Caller. Reagan, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciate it. All right, we'll take a break and be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right. Well, U.S. home prices have hit all-time highs now. Median home selling price is record highs. The median U.S. home sale price, median price being half or higher, half or lower, $396,500. That's for the 4 weeks ending June 15th, up 1% over last year. Price is an all-time high, even though the housing market is fairly cool because there's an imbalance of sellers and buyers in today's market. Sale prices are seasonally and typically peak in June or July, and that price growth is cooling. The 1% year-over-year increase is in line with the last several years, but down from the 5% at the start of the year. Median sale price, an all-time high, like I said, roughly $26,000 lower than the median asking price of $422,000. 6% discount is similar to the last several weeks, but marks a reversal from 21 and 22 when the median sale price was typically much higher than the median list price because the market favored sellers then. Homes selling under asking price right now because there are many more sellers than buyers in today's market. That gives buyers the upper hand and allows them to negotiate prices down. The problem is you still have high interest rates because Jerome Powell continues to leave the interest rates high. So mortgage is still around 7%. The average on June 18th, 6.87. 6.87%. So it's down from 7.04% a year ago, but look, it isn't great. Of course, it's a lot less than 12 or 14% mortgages cost when I first bought a house. So, we got all sorts of data here, but what do you think? Good time to buy, good time to sell? What time is it in your world when it comes to your house? Yeah, all-time record highs. Not a good situation to have. I'll tell you about this Hillsdale White House hookup, the story of America coming up. And I'm going to tell you about a bear. A bear saved after 2 years with this garbage around his head. It's a great story. You don't want to miss it. It's all coming up on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, back to it now. All right, we're going to bring it back home a little bit. Back to my home state of Michigan, where State Representative Brian Postumus is the majority floor leader. House District 90, that's Rockford. Lovely community, by the way. Sir, good to have you on the program.
Always a pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about the future of Michigan. I think Gretchen Whitmer has proven to be a disappointment even to her own party. Look, she never fixed the damn roads. The state police have had a vote of no confidence because that agency has been damaged. And those are just a couple of examples from recent headlines. Oh, so I guess the future of conservatism in Michigan. What is it, sir?
Oh, well, look, I think we've seen a fundamental realignment of the party over the last several years, right? I mean, when the election results were coming in November of 2024, it was very clear that today's Republican Party is different than the Republican Party that we knew of 20 years ago. We are the country club Republicans no longer exists. The Democrat Party is now the party of the elites, and the Republican Party is the party of the working class, the farmers like me, the mechanics, the line workers, the single moms taking her 3 kids to soccer. That is the Republican Party that we know of today.
Yeah, that's what it is. And how did that happen? It went from, conservatism is fine, but the fact that the Democrats have abandoned working people in America, the Democrats have abandoned common sense. They find themselves on the wrong end of 80-20 or even 90-10 issues daily. I mean, Democrats don't even support men and women's sports, for example. I know, because if they had the guts, put it on the ballot. Let the people vote on that. In any state, Massachusetts, Connecticut, California, any state, it would lose 9-1. Go ahead.
Right. Or requiring that only U.S. citizens can vote in our elections. The majority of every single demographic in our state and in our country support that, but the elected Democrats are united in opposition.
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about crypto. It's becoming more and more mainstream. If it had been, mainstream to me 10 years ago, I'd be retired and we wouldn't be talking. But here I am. Because I didn't buy a crypto, but Bitcoin when it was $1,000 a coin. Boy, don't you wish you had done that?
Yeah.
What is your crypto legislation? Tell us what's going on.
So my colleagues and I have introduced the first 2 phases of a 3-phase plan for cryptocurrency. Right now, our entire legal system is silent on cryptocurrency. And my fundamental belief is that 15, 20 years from now, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is going to be the foundation of our entire financial industry. And so I want to make sure that we get ahead of the game as far as getting policies in place that both protect consumers and also protect the rights of individuals to hold and utilize cryptocurrency and put guardrails in place. Because if we wait too long, then we're going to be playing catch up and reacting constantly. And so a few things that it does. One is it provides the legal framework for our state treasurer to invest our pension funds and our state funds into cryptocurrency up to a certain amount. Right now, we already do that, but there's no guardrails, right? So the treasurer theoretically could invest everything, the entire pension system, into something like Dogecoin or some random meme coin that pops up. Our policy puts forward some regulations that ensure that it can only be up to 5% of the fund. It can only be in federally regulated exchange traded funds that are utilize blockchain technology in cryptocurrency. So that way, we don't have those high volatility, high risk situations and blow tax dollars and blow the pensioners' funds.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. I've seen states like North Carolina and Arizona investing in it. I'm not sure that's a smart move. I've heard some people.
So right now, Michigan is actually the large. Our pension is the largest pension holder of cryptocurrency in the country, and we're the 5th largest holder of Ethereum in the entire world. And so what I'm saying is, like, look, I think it's good that we're utilizing this tool as a part of the toolbox, but let's make sure that there's some guardrails on there so we can protect our pensioners and protect our taxpayers.
Yeah. So what if Ethereum goes to 0?
Right. Then that's a problem there. But I will say the treasurer would argue that it's been a really good investment since she invested in it. So the other side of the token too is right now the treasurer could invest in Best Buy stock if she chose to. Like legally, she has the authority to do that. Our treasurer is a fiduciary and has a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers and to the pensioners and the pensioners. And so we have to be able to make sure that we entrust them with the tools that they need to succeed, but also put on the guardrails to protect pensioners and taxpayers.
Yeah. All right. So you've probably seen the news reports that there were almost 20,000 fake IDs that came in from China that were caught at the airport at O'Hare in Chicago in 2020. The FBI worked to kill that investigation. In fact, they went so far as to get rid of the evidence. Strange, but true. We all know that's true now because John Solomon, Just the News, has reported it. He's the most trustworthy reporter in America, I believe. They found it. The point being is China flooded this country with fake IDs, and people like Jocelyn Benson flooded our state with mail-in ballots. Gee, what could go wrong? Well, what went wrong was there's this belief that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Let me assure you, he did not. What happened is that China interfered with our election. That's a fact. Never Russia. It was always China. So you're looking to require legislation to amend the Constitution to require photo ID when voting and proof of citizenship when registering to vote. I think these are both terrific ideas. Can we get it on the ballot? Doesn't it need to go on the ballot to become part of the Constitution? And if we did that, wouldn't that be a fast way to get there? What are your thoughts? What are you doing? What's the plan?
Yeah, so we have a constitutional amendment that we're pushing that would do those two things, right? It would require proof of citizenship when registering to vote and photo ID when casting your ballot. It would address almost all of the issues and challenges around our election system, right? Like it would address the challenges that the vulnerability, potential vulnerabilities that we see with mail-in ballots and early voting. It would address some of the issues that we're seeing with foreign nationals coming here and voting in our elections. It would address that. It would fix those problems. And so it is absolutely necessary that we get this on the ballot. And so we're in the process of looking to collect 600,000 signatures over the next 6 months or so in order to do that. And then it'll go on the November 2026 ballot, where I suspect it will pass with flying colors. But we're in the process of raising money and collecting signatures. So if any of your listeners want to help with that, they can go to proveitmichigan.com, sign up to help, and we'll be in touch.
All right, proveitmichigan.com. Greatly appreciate it. It's the right thing to do, by the way, and I completely agree with you. I think most people do. We want to know the people that are casting ballots have the ability to do so, and we should eliminate mail-in ballots altogether. You know, not legal in any country in Europe ever to mail in a ballot. There's a reason for that. They tried it once. What they figure out? It's ripe for fraud. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be on.
Always good to have you. All right, we'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, let's end this on a positive note today, and not that we haven't had a positive note. I mean, we pulled off one of the greatest air raids in the history of the world, maybe the greatest. Well, maybe not the greatest. Doolittle's raid of Tokyo might have been the greatest. Yeah. Of course, Enola Gay wasn't bad either, but one of the greatest air raids of all time. Hillsdale College in the White House is hooking up, and obviously Hillsdale, a good friend of mine, known for its classical core curriculum. They refuse all federal and state funding, if you didn't know. They don't take any money. So they're hooking up with the White House to create the story of America. Each episode of the video offers Americans, young and old, a vivid retelling of the dramatic moments that birthed this republic. It's not a democracy, it's a republic, boys and girls. From Lexington and Concord to the signing of the Declaration of Independence, these aren't just dusty textbook entries. They're the living legacy of courage, self-governance, and moral conviction. It's brand new. The inaugural video, titled "The Shot Heard Round the World," is about the battles of Lexington and Concord, narrated by Dr. Wilford McClay, professor of history at Hillsdale, and a regular guest on this program. McClay doesn't just recount the timeline, he breathes meaning into it. He reminds us that the American Revolution wasn't led by fringe radicals or rebels looking to overthrow everything. It was led by people defending the way of life they had built through 150 years of self-government. Michigan News Source spoke to McClay about this project. He said the amazing part of the Minutemen, the people that Paul Revere and his compadres roused to action, is that they were already organized. They had an organized society. They had governments. They had means of levying taxes and erecting public structures and all those kinds of things. McClay went on to say that the struggle was that the colonists were being deprived of something they thought was formerly their rights, formerly a part of their way of life. What was done before can be done again. The deeds of Lexington and Concord exemplify enduring qualities of the character of the American people that will continue to manifest themselves if we have the willingness to call on those memories, the capacity to respond to darkness with light, to peril with energy and determination, buoyed by the knowledge that others have done these things before, and in a sense, for us. What a great message. You can find out more at gruberforhillsdale.com. gruberforhillsdale.com. It's the story of America as we head toward the 4th of July. And next year, 250 years of America. Yeah. Next year, 250 years of America. Now, you like a good animal story to end the day? Well, here's where we are. This is a cool story. This comes from the DNR, also from Michigan News Source. If you want real news about Michigan, if you live here in Michigan, or even if you don't, and you just want good, solid reporting, there's Michigan News Source in Michigan. There's Alpha News in Minnesota. There are some good statewide news operations in different places. There really are. Biologists with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources celebrated a recent rescue involving a bear and issued reminders about bear baiting regulations. State wildlife biologists in Montmorency County removed a blue plastic lid from the neck of a young bear. He got it stuck on his head while he was taking some bait. He first appeared on a trail camera all the way back in 2023. Biologists tracked the elusive cub that had turned into an adult over the 2 years. And last month, a resident in Hillman alerted the DNR after seeing the bear in trail camera photos on his property. Biologists captured the 110-pound bear on June 2nd, gave him anesthesia, removed the lid from his neck. They also collected body measurements and other data. Biologists released the bear back onto the property once he woke up. DNR officials said baiting is a legal method for hunting bears on private land only. These containers may only have holes that are either 1 inch or less in diameter, 22 inches or greater. But you have cases in Florida, Wisconsin, Tennessee, in which bears got their heads stuck in food containers. Some of them don't survive. So, Landowners, you can do your part by recycling or crushing containers such as empty cheese ball tubs and being bear wise about securing garbage, said Cody Norton. It's important to remember that the opening diameter is more important than the size of the container. We have 13,000 black bears in Michigan. I didn't know it was that high. More bears than I realized. 13,000. And so, look, if you go and you look at go to Michigan News Source, look at the pictures. MichiganNewsSource.com. The bear has this ring around his neck. I'm surprised he survived, honestly, but he did. They use, anesthesia, put him down, took the lid off. It's remarkable. So there you go. Pretty good stuff. I like a good happy animal story to bring us to a close here today. All right. So meanwhile, back in the real world, the war continues between Iran and Israel. More strikes in Iran. The United States not backing down. Caroline Leavitt saying just moments ago that Donald Trump is not interested at all in regime change in Tehran. She said the president believes the Iranian people can control their own destiny. But the fact of the matter is also this. If they continue to screw around, they'll get hit again. Meanwhile, in New York City, socialist Muslim Zohran Mamdani is leading the race for tomorrow's New York City mayoral primary for the final round of ranked choice voting. Yeah. Palestinian supporting mayor in New York City. What could possibly be wrong with that? These cities, this ranked choice voting is a disaster. NYC is effed if this happens. I'll be right back with final. All right. What is it today? Is it the 22nd of June? Is that where we are?
23rd.
That's what I said, 23rd. Whatever.
Oh, my apologies.
That's okay. So, yeah, it's hot. Anthony said he was Anthony is such a good guy. He was moving his girlfriend out of her apartment and said he was humping those boxes up and down the stairs. Bah, 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 bah. He was the only one outside. Everybody else is inside the air conditioning, packing boxes, sipping iced tea. Nice work, Anthony. Way to take one for the team.
Sweated through two tank tops.
Yeah. Why didn't you just go bare chested? It's what she wanted anyway. That's what she was
True.
for. Might as well step up and give them what they want. Anyhow, so it's gonna be hot for another day here. Excuse me. I've been a little sick, folks, so I apologize for the throat. Let me check the weather report here. I think it cools off after today, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to see if that's actually true. Yeah. For us, it goes right back into the 70s for the rest of the week, which I can live with. Won't hit the 80s again until next weekend. But, I mean, it's the first real heat wave we've had in a while. What is it, 90 or 3 days in a row, something like that. Today will hit 90, but just 90. It won't be 95 like it was yesterday. All over this, all over the state. Yeah, so good news. It's going to cool off. We're going to go into the, I guess in southern Michigan, we'll hit 90 again tomorrow. 95 today, 90 tomorrow, and then back into the 70s. So, hey, it's good for farming. Look, your corn's going to grow like a mother. All that water we got and then all that heat, boom, baby. It's good for farming. If you're not a farmer, sorry about that. Enjoy your air conditioning. Of course, the left wants you to get rid of your air conditioners, wants you to suffer through this and never get any relief. All right? Never any relief. That's all I have to report today. I'm all done here today. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. Remember, only you can save America. I'm going to go save myself and try to get healthy, and then we'll be on with it.